Okay, before we drop, we're not going to drop our board in there, we're going to set it gently. But let's talk about, I have a small fish aerator. This is a 5 to 15 gallon. All it does is push a little bit of air through the plastic tube. You can see it bubbling here. Now the purpose for this isn't for the splash tank, it's for the etching tank. And the reason is that we want an agitator to mix the chemicals. We're oxidizing the copper off of the board. And so we're going to place the board in there and not get it the direction that it needs to be laying. So let's turn that. There we go. Now you can already see it turning green. Unfortunately, you don't get to see the fun side of it where the copper's coming off right now. But you can see the water turning green. That's when copper oxidizes, you know, when it's iron, we call it rust. Copper, it's verdigris, and it's green. But think of it as copper rust. And we're oxidizing the copper off the bottom of the board. Now I've got the copper facing down. The purpose of the bubbles is to both agitate the liquid and to agitate it across the surface of the board. So I'm holding the tube and moving it around. Unfortunately, I can't see the bottom side of the board, so we're just going to let it go for a minute. But you can see clearly that the liquid is turning green. We're getting there, but not yet. I'm going to flip it so that the other side is down. The hydrogen peroxide, or H2O2, that spare oxygen molecule is what's helping us oxidize, rust, our copper off. And it's going to turn our hydrochloric acid into cupric chloride, chlorine and copper. That's what the green stuff is. If you have a container that can be sealed, then you can reuse the liquid. You don't need to use a new batch every time. Hydrogen peroxide is not, well, it breaks down in ultraviolet light. That's why when you buy hydrogen peroxide bottles, they're brown. Because if they set in ultraviolet light, they would cease to be hydrogen peroxide. The oxygen will break out and it would become water. So what you're actually going to, after this goes on long enough, in fact, if this sat in light, it would actually turn into water and cupric chloride. So let's take a look at our board. Looks like we've got all the copper off that surface. Let's douse the board. We'll rinse that off. I rinsed my gloves at the same time. I'm really diluting the acid.